Approaching the teacher from Fortress 113, Xiaosu asked what her future plans were. Not knowing what to answer, the flustered woman only remained silent. Then, Tangzhou asked not to worry about it. The consortium would arrange for students to enroll in the local school once all the refugees had received a resident card. Teacher Jiang Wu can continue to work as a teacher, and the students can continue to attend the school, and the school itself will pay an allowance if they are settled. Xiaosu looked at the man incredulously and asked why he was being so kind. Tangzhou explained that after all, everyone here had been through a lot together, and as one of the Qing Consortium's representatives, he didn't mind doing this small favor. However, such a decision worried Wang Fugui. Isn't this fortress controlled by the Li Consortium? Would the Qing family people really be able to keep their word? In response, the military man reassured him, explaining that the Li Consortium were not so harmful to worry about such a trifling matter. In consortium relationships, things are sometimes complicated and sometimes simple. When it's not about profits, everyone is always on good terms. So no one is going to stop the Qing family from putting a couple of refugees in school. Interested in this possibility, Ren Xiaosu asked how much the school allowance was for students. Surprised by this question, Tangzhou told him that the school pays 900 a month. Every fortress is different, but this is the minimum monthly amount needed to live. Seeing this as a good opportunity, Xiaosu walked over to his brother and placed his hands on his shoulders. Yan Liu Yuan and I should also go to school. It doesn't matter if it's money or anything else. The important thing is that we have a thirst for knowledge, the boy proudly said, making his little brother embarrassed. Also, along with himself, the boy decided to put Wang Fugui, Wang Delong, Sister Qiao Yu, and Chen Wudi into the school. Naturally, such a proposal did not please the martial artist. Wang Fugui is actually almost 50 years old now, and he wants to go to school too? Sighing heavily, Tangzhou asked the boy to forget about it. Xiaosu, Yuan, and Delong, there are only 3 here of the right age to enroll. Hearing that Sister Xiao Yu and the merchant were forbidden to settle in the school, Yuan and Delong cried out in tears that they didn't want to be there either. But after noticing Xiaosu's scary face, the guys abruptly changed their minds. In fact, no one gave them the floor. At the same moment, Tangzhou walked over to Ren Xiaosu and gave him a friendly hug. The man advised the boy not to get too excited, since the Qing family originally owed him nothing else. So since the boy wants the consortium to help him with his enrollment, then he should think of something in return. Without thinking long, Xiaosu held out a small bottle to the martial artist, noting that Fatty Luo should like it. Putting this bottle in his pocket, Tangzhou was surprised that this kid should call his boss Fatty Luo. Finished chatting, the entire troupe decided to enter the store presented to them and take a look around. This store was much better than they had imagined, and now Xiaosu fully believes that this place will definitely become even better in the future. While the two brothers were looking around the hallway, Wang Fugui opened the door and called Xiaosu over to look at something. It turned out that there were 3 bedrooms in the far hall. The squad decided to divide them this way. Sister Xiao Yu would live in a separate room, Uncle Wang would share the second room with Delong, and the last room would be occupied by Xiaosu, Yuan, and Wudi. Sister Xiao Yu agreed with this division. After stroking his son, Wang Fugui also did not object to the new shopkeeper. After assigning rooms to each other, everyone began to clean up the store. Sister Xiao Yu was doing laundry and ironing as usual, while Fugui and his son started cleaning the windows. While cleaning the restroom, a strange device was found. Pressing the flush on the toilet, they stood together and gazed in wonder at this marvel of engineering. The toilets in the shopping mall are just regular pits, whereas here you can flush directly and there is a sewer system. Plus, it turns out there's also a shower. No wonder everyone in the fort is so clean. Turns out they don't have limited water. Some time passed and everyone was done with their duties. Exhausted, they sat down together on the carpet. Smiling contentedly, Xiao Yu noticed that it had been quite a while since they had sat together so quietly. Meanwhile, Fugui remembered that while they were cleaning the house, a few patients came in, saying that they were here to see a doctor. It seems that this store was originally a pharmacy and has a good reputation, so why not keep it open? Xiaosu awkwardly looked at the vendor and realized that it was probably Fatty Luo's doing. He seemed to want this store to start selling those black jars of medicine. Sighing, the guy asked which one of them knew how to treat. Anyway, Xiaosu himself won't be able to do it since he only specializes in illegal medicine. It seems to him that he should first sell the antibiotics that Fugui took with him. After all, they expire after a while, right? The merchant agreed with the boy, but explained that it was too late today. Tomorrow he would go exchange Ching's money with Li, which would open a business in the near future. In any case, if this business went bust, Uncle Wang could start his old job as a grocer. And even if he were to open a drugstore, he would first need a strong product to supply in the long run. Fugui asked him if he could look at the nearby herbs and create his own magic potion. Xiaosu replied that it was certainly possible, but a merchant wouldn't be able to sell these medicines in bulk. The best option would be to put out the required number of jars per week. Nodding, Fugui said that it would be more than enough. There must be something unique in the store, and with this universal medicine, one wouldn't have to worry about an influx of customers. Well, one black medicine for a thank you coin can be divided into 3 vials. One small bottle is enough to divide it into 5 or 6 more batches, so it's not that big a price to pay. Tomorrow, Xiaosu will go to the fortress store and see if the gold he recently carried away from that ruined city can be sold there. Noticing that it was already getting dark outside, the guy suggested that everyone go back to their rooms and rest after so many days of traveling. Suddenly, Liu Yuan noticed something strange at the doorstep of the house. Turning to his older brother, the boy showed him some note lying under the door. This is not a place to linger here for long. After reading this, Yuan asked his brother what the note meant and who wrote it. After examining the piece of paper from all sides, Xiaosu found this handwriting quite familiar. Did Yang Xiaojin really come to the 109th fortress? And why would she want Ren Xiaosu and the others to leave? Did something serious happen here as well? Or is she here to kill Luo Lan? Although, on the other hand, it doesn't make any sense. If this girl wanted to kill him, she would have already done it. There would simply be no reason for her to wait until the fat man was inside the fortress. Exhaling hopelessly, Xiaosu couldn't understand why Yan Xiaojin didn't tell him this earlier. After all, the guy had just arrived at the fortress. Even if he grew wings, he wouldn't be able to fly out. It's morning. Warming up, Xiaosu and the others walked out of their rooms. Looking at his friends contentedly, Wang Fugui remarked that it had been quite a while since he had slept so pleasantly. Then the man asked the others if they had seen where Chen Wudi had gone. Out on the town, the great sage equal to heaven couldn't believe that after being locked up in a mental institution since childhood, he was in such an amazing world. And the guy seemed to remember something. Turns out he lived in a world like this when he was a kid, but that's all long in the past. Some music interrupted the boy's musings. Without noticing it himself, Chen Wudi came to the park where the dancers had just started practicing. It's really just a fairy tale. It's like the guy went back in time. The boy also ran out to the others and started tapping his heels chaotically on the ground, while saying some strange sounds. Getting into the heron pose, Udi suggested that the rest of the guys practice together. Such a suggestion naturally did not please the dancers. The women decided to teach this cocky guy a lesson by kicking him in front of everyone. After that, they kicked Chen Wudi's ass out of the park. Soon, walking down the street, Udi met his master and the rest of his friends. Noticing the footprints on his clothes, Ren Xiaosu put a hand on the guy's shoulder and asked what happened to him. And when Wudi looked at him with a battered face, Xiaosu was completely shocked. Who had beaten him up like that already? As Chen Wudi passed by, he raised his hand and said that this world was indeed a beautiful world, or maybe not so beautiful. Looking after him, Xiaosu once again recalled that strange note. Could it be that this fortress was really dangerous and hiding some powerful superhuman? A few minutes later, Li's bank. When Wang Fugui tried to exchange his money for Li's bills, he was told that there was a 23% conversion fee. The conversion fee was too high, but there was no other choice. Walking up to Uncle Wang, Ren Xiaosu grabbed his hand and asked him to start by changing smaller bills in case he had to change the fortress again one day. Otherwise, this fee would be a waste of money. Not understanding what fortress change the guy told him about, Fugui still didn't mind and decided to do as he asked. As they were leaving the bank, the merchant asked the boy if he thought they would have to change fortresses in the future. And where exactly would they go in that case? Xiaosu himself replied that he couldn't say anything for sure, but in any case, they didn't need a large supply of money at the moment. So they could just exchange some of it and save the rest for a rainy day. Right now, none of them know what direction to take next. However, Xiaosu can't help but feel that perhaps sometime in the future, they may actually have to leave this place together and run towards the next unknown fortress again. Meanwhile, a bus numbered 666 pulled up to the bus stop. With his finger pointing at the vehicle, Xiaosu suggested that the others take a ride on the thing. Wang Fugui supported the idea, saying that the people in the fortress had told him about it a long time ago. The merchant didn't really believe them at the time, but now that he had seen the bus with his own eyes, it would be a sin not to ride it. The children immediately ran into the bus, and Xiaosu paid the fare for 5. Looking out the window, Yuan noticed that the people behind the walls had a very comfortable and safe life. They could live 100 times better than vagrants just by doing some light work. And when the boy said that people here live without knowing any problems, his older brother replied that such a thing was impossible. Every person has problems, and even Luo Lan has problems. Unfortunately, they do not diminish even as material wealth increases. Agreeing with his brother, Yuan wondered if there was such a person in the world who had no problems at all. Nodding, Xiaosu replied that such people existed, and they were usually called dead people. Looking at his older brother perplexedly, Liu Yuan asked if it was appropriate to talk about it on such a joyous day. But Ren Xiaosu only waved his hands, noting that he had said nothing but the truth. Vaughn, even a man like Chen Wudi has his own problems. He still sits crying into his pillow after that incident in the park. While passing another block, Xiaosu noticed a jewelry shop called True Goldsmith. After getting off the bus, the guy told Uncle Wang that he had to go run some errands. So now Fugai is in charge of driving everyone back. Not realizing when this kid had managed to run out of the bus, Fugoi turned around to Liu Yuan and inquired where his brother had gone, but the boy replied that he didn't know anything. Xiaosu had decided not to tell them about the exchange of gold, so that they wouldn't have to explain where it came from. Entering the jewelry store, the guy looked around and realized that no one was paying attention to him. Suddenly, Xiaosu notices a wanted poster hanging on the wall. Looking at the criminal's face, the boy realized he recognized Xu Xiancha. On one hand, it might seem that this story of the foray to Jing Mountain is already over. However, the Qing consortium knew that someone was trying to steal gold in the ruined city. The only thing they needed to do was to check the missing gold on the store counter, and they would have discovered that the quantity was wrong. Since the Qing consortium special posted the photos at the gold store, they must have found something. And this is a direct attempt to find traces directly at the source of the stolen goods purchase. On the other hand, Ren Xiaosu had nothing to fear. After all, it was Chu Xianchu they were looking for, not him. At the same time in the trading village, near the fortress of 111, Xu Qianchu was finally able to reach the nearest settlement. Luckily, he's superhuman and in great physical shape. A few poisonous wild vegetables aren't enough to kill him. As he approached one of the market stalls, the man said hello and asked if they had any food. He had money with him, so paying was not a problem. Seeing this man, the merchant fell into a stupor. Xu Xianchu! Xu Xianchu is here! Everyone, hurry up! A guy shouted in panic, pointing his finger at the uninvited guest. Seeing the crowd of angry armed settlers running towards him, Xu Xianchu remembered that Fortress 111 was the location of the Qing Consortium headquarters. They must have put out a wanted notice for him a long time ago, but the man had done nothing. At most, the Qing knew he was superhuman, but that wasn't enough for them to dare arrest him like that. Seeing that he had no other choice, Xu Xianchu sat on the shadow clone, deciding to flee towards the 109th fortress. First, the man needed to hide from pursuit. The best way to do that was to hide in the woods. Realizing this, Xu Xianchu began to run deeper and deeper into the forest. A convoy of cars had just passed among the trees. Sitting in the SUV, King Zhen reflected on how lucky he was that there were people from the consortium outside of Jing Mountain to help. Otherwise, it was scary to imagine how long it would have taken to get back to Fortress 111. His musings were interrupted by a certain man who whizzed past the car in a flash. Upon seeing the shadow clone, King Zhen immediately realized that it was his target, Xu Xianchu. Unfortunately, there's no point in the convoy of cars turning around now because they simply won't be able to keep up with the shadows. King Zhen annoyedly banged his fist on the door. The man can't believe that this bastard is just hanging around while Zhen himself has to hide because of him. Judging from the direction, it seems that Xu Xianchu is heading towards the 109th fortress. All right, no matter how fast he runs, he can't escape. Turning to Xu Xuan, the boss ordered him to summon Luo Lan and told him to be on guard. If Xu Xianchu appeared near the 109th wall, it would be a chance to catch him. Qing Zheng himself has no choice but to stop by the 11th fortress. No matter how much Xu Xianchu fumbles around, he is only a superhuman. A group of old men in a consortium is the real trouble. The shadows in the consortium changed one by one, and only those faces make up the core of the Qing family that are taken care of by the old men. According to a saying in the Qing clan, violence is only a means of maintaining order, but it can never become order. In short, the shadow does not play a major role here. Now that Qing Zhen has been in the spotlight as he battles the Tinder company, the old men are expected to try to crush his spirit, and apparently he will be under house arrest for a while. As they approached one of the city's buildings, a gallon of military SUVs came to a stop. A worried Xu Xuan reported to the boss that tomorrow, everyone who reported to Zheng would go to report to the operations department. They would most likely be split up and sent to other combat units. The man asked the boss if he wanted to say anything to his subordinates. Maybe he should go out and talk to the soldiers. He didn't have to listen to these old men. He could go to the wasteland and hide there. The soldiers will definitely follow Zheng if he wants to. Besides, there are many of them, and there are also weapons, so it won't be hard to survive. Everybody would like that. These guys are loyal to their boss and will be willing to follow him into any heat. Opening the car door, King Zhen told Chuan that there was no need for this. These soldiers are waiting to return home to reunite with their wives and children. All of them can't just go to live in the desert for the sake of one person. Stepping out of the SUV, the boss saw his subordinates in front of him, already waiting for his farewell speech. "Gentlemen, when you go to other combat units, show your best behavior and don't dishonor me," Zhen muttered, looking proudly at the soldiers. Standing at attention, the fighters gave some to the boss. Getting back into the car, King Zhen asked Shushuan to take him to the residence. A few minutes later, the car was already pulling up to the residence. After stopping at the main entrance, King Zhen got out of the car and headed into the building. Entering the bathroom, the man took off his ragged shirt. Finally, after so many days, he would be able to take a refreshing shower again. It's human nature to get impatient. Only Zhen entered the fortress as the soldiers under his command immediately began to be distributed. The warriors under him are truly brave men who have been through many battles. Now that the old men of the consortium have a chance to divide these invincible troops, it's understandable that they would choose to seize the opportunity. After taking a shower, King Zhen got dressed and headed towards the exit of the residence. There, asked not to make it difficult for them, the man's path was blocked by soldiers on the pretext that he was not allowed to leave the house. The old men had certainly said that Zhen Yu wasn't allowed to go outside of Fortress 111, but when did they say that he wasn't allowed to leave home? Had someone forged the order? Ignoring the soldiers' requests, Boss King asked him not to worry, explaining that he was just going to go listen to the singing. Who in Fortress 111 doesn't know that he, King Zhen, likes to listen to other people singing? However, the soldier blocked Zhen Yu's path again, saying that they were just following orders. At the same moment, a sniper shot was heard, and the bullet hit right next to the leg of one of the soldiers. Walking to the door, Zhen promised the serviceman that no one would give them any trouble. After bowing to Boss King, the soldiers thanked him for his mercy. There used to be a rumor that King Zhen always has his trump cards with him. It turns out to be true. But where did this sniper come from? And anyway, didn't the Qing consortium remove Zhen from his position? Is there really anyone else following the man who lost power? Watching the performance, the man in white listens to the dancers singing. Pouring more drink into his shot glass, Zhen noticed something. The actors on this stage have changed again, and only King Zhen himself remained the same as before. Approaching the boss, the subordinate reported that the consortium had business to discuss with him. They invited the man to discuss it at a meeting. With a glance at the man in the suit, Boss King asked to tell the consortium that he wasn't coming. The next day came, Fortress 109. Xiaos didn't manage to sell the gold. He was still afraid of being followed. It was not possible to live on the subsidy provided by the school, so it looked like he would have to take over the store after all. Now the boy needs somewhere to get more gratitude coins. Unfortunately, in these times, it's harder to get gratitude than money. And you can't always sell the black cure. While pondering this, Xiaosu saw Wang Fugui chatting with some stranger. The guy immediately wondered what this merchant was up to again. Shit, I think he's selling black medicine like Viagra again. Snickering, Xiaosu couldn't believe that a promising young superhuman like him was destined to deal drugs. At the same moment, a concerned man ran to the pharmacy. He had constant discomfort in his abdomen, and so he asked the doctor what was wrong. Completely unprepared to work, Xiaosu indifferently replied to the visitor that he was pregnant. Such a strange answer threw the man into a stupor. Pregnant? Shit, can't you hear I'm a man? You have a healer's sign hanging. How can you not care about people's condition? The man shouted in rage. Turning his attention to the visitor, Xiaosu confirmed that he was a man and stated the fact that he was not pregnant after all. Pointing his finger at the guy, the angry visitor asked if this kid knew who had come to see him. His name is Lin Feng, from the Western District, and he's actually an authority. Continuing to ignore the man, Xiaosu noticed a new task given to him by the palace. This time the task was to cure a patient. Running up to the visitor, the boy grabbed him by the arm and asked him to quickly tell him what was bothering him. Looking at the boy with a puzzled look, the man told him that he had an upset stomach. Putting some pills in the man's hand, Xiaosu said that he had gastritis. If the patient takes this medicine, it will go away very quickly. Of course, the guy himself wasn't exactly sure if he had given the right medicine. But the main task had been completed, making Zhen Xiaosu obtain another basic skill copying scroll. Before leaving the pharmacy, the visitor asked if something should be excluded from the diet. The doctor indifferently turned to him and advised him not to eat bitter melon. Looking tensely at the doctor, the man asked why he couldn't eat the bitter melon in particular. Because it doesn't taste good. Turning away, Xiaosu explained. The patient walked out of the pharmacy, and an excited Wang Fu guy immediately ran inside with some piece of paper in his hands. Calling out to Xiaosu, the merchant happily showed him this piece of paper. It turned out to be a flame source flyer. From this day on, superhumans can apply to the Flame Source Company and receive money for donating blood, which will later be used in research. In this way, such people will also contribute to the development of mankind, and most importantly beyond that. By donating just 200 milliliters of blood, the superhuman will receive a payment of 1 million. Adding that this organization promises to ensure the privacy of personal information, Fugui asked the guy if he wanted to try to get involved. Earlier on Jing Mountain, Xiaosu had heard Yang Xiaojin talk about this company. Back then, he thought it was doubtful, but now he had come across them in the 109th fortress. Now, all the fortresses were hostile to superhumans to some extent, but the flame source not only started buying blood in superhumans, but also openly offered them protection. What is their goal? While Ren Xiaosu was pondering this, his younger brother was passing by and noticed the note. Turning to Uncle Wang, Yuan said that there was definitely something wrong with this company. His brother can't go there. Remembering that Zhang Baogan and Chen Wudi had been arrested for revealing their superpowers, Fugui agreed with the boy. God knows what this flame source is up to. That's right, no one's going anywhere. Money is not worth jeopardizing Xiaosu's life. And by the way, we should tell Chen Wudi not to use his superpowers whenever he wants. Smirking, Xiaosu asked Uncle Wang not to worry. Chen Wudi, whether he wanted to or not, would keep his mouth shut. The guy had already threatened him with the hoop compression spell. With a strange giggle, Yuan asked his brother if the flame source had a lot of money. If so, they didn't need to donate blood, they could just rob the company. Giving his little brother a smack, an angry Xiaosu told him to pack up and get ready to go to school tomorrow. Of course, a tearful Liu Yuan didn't bother to contradict his older brother. This child had grown up in the harsh environment of a trading town, and now that they had moved to the fortress, Xiaosu had to teach him proper behavior from time to time. Poking his finger at the flame source's flyer, Ren Xiaosu asked what this set of numbers was. Was it a code of some sort? Fugui in turn told me that it was a telephone number. Every fortress has had a telephone network since ancient times, so people can communicate with each other from dozens of kilometers away. Xiaosu's shop also has a telephone, but the merchant hasn't figured out how to use it yet. Overhearing this conversation, an overjoyed Yuan offered to try using the phone right away. Looking into the storeroom, they did indeed find a communication device unknown to them there. Seated around the phone, they began to think together about how this thing worked. After examining this device, Chen Wudi said that he seemed to know how to use it. Picking up the phone, the guy started typing in some number on the phone. After a while, a beeping sound came from the receiver. As soon as someone on the other side of the conversation took the call, Udi shouted that he was a great sage equal to heaven. Psycho. Briefly came from the handset, after which the call was dropped. Looking at it, Xiaosu remarked that the phone was simply amazing. How was he able to determine Chen Wudi's essence with such precision? After Wudi, it was Liu Yuan's turn to try out this miracle technique. The boy dialed the right number and pressed the call button. When he heard someone's voice, Yuan said hello to the unfamiliar uncle. And when the interlocutor asked who he was and what was wrong, The boy explained that he had just learned how to use the phone, so he was just trying to make a call for the first time. The angry voice on the other side asked the kid if he was not with that psycho for one. Anyway, the man said not to call him again, and the next second he hung up. Looking at his older brother in surprise, Yuan said, "This phone is an amazing thing. It feels like the person on the other side is right in front of you." Smiling, Xiaosu agreed, but asked his younger brother not to call again. It's not good to disturb other people. But suddenly, the phone rang. Looking at the device perplexed, Yuan asked his brother to answer the call. "Hello, sir. We just heard you have a store. How's business been lately? Would you like to take out a small loan? We can lend you 10,000 coins. The interest is only 10 coins a day." After listening to the stranger, Xiaosu said that he didn't understand what he was talking about. Then, the stranger explained that they could borrow money. The guy decided to ask how much the interest rate was, to which he received the answer, 3%. With a sly smile, Ren Xiaosu asked if this wasn't usury. Bewildered, the man on the other side of the phone turned to his boss and told him that here was a customer talking. Supposedly, they were loan sharks. When the company boss picked up the phone, he asked the young man not to talk nonsense, explaining that they were not loan sharks. Xiaosu, in turn, asked if they wanted to say that 3% was not usury. Of all the businessmen, they are the most unscrupulous. Angry, the company boss asked the boy if he knew who he was talking to. By the way, that voice seemed familiar to the boy at once. "Do you even know who you're talking to right now?" Xiaosu parried. Clutching the phone receiver angrily, the man said he didn't know. "I'm Yan Linfeng from the Western District," said the boy. "Damn, I'm also Yan Linfeng from the Western District." Clenching the cigarette in his teeth angrily, the moneylender replied. After this reply, Xiaosu pressed the phone receiver to the floor to try to realize what had just happened. No wonder the voice sounded familiar. It was not surprising that the voice sounded familiar, and if anyone was willing to identify themselves, they all turned out to be Yan Linfeng. Walking up to the boy, Fugui told him that one should actually maintain a relationship with a local authority like this Linfeng. It seems that this person is involved in some shady business and has subordinates. It wouldn't be unreasonable to know such people in any case. Agreeing, Xiaosu asked the merchant to talk more with this guy if he came to treat him again. Changing the subject, Uncle Wang reminded the boy about the black medicine. The peddler had been distributing it to passers-by this afternoon, and perhaps after tonight, many people would be aware of its properties. After thinking of something, Xiaosu decided to ask old Wang for a favor. He made a small list of things to buy tomorrow. The only condition was to never take them from the same place. Once everything was bought, the guy could make a bomb. Fortunately, he had copied Yang Xiaojin's bomb-making skill. It would come in handy at the crucial moment to clear a path of retreat. The next morning, Ren Xiaosu and the children finally tried on their new clothes. After bowing to Sister Xiao Yu, they thanked her together for preparing their new clothes for school. After saying goodbye to the others, Xiaosu and the children headed to school for the first time. All students usually travel to educational institutions by special trains. These three were no exception and took the electric train as well. From now on, they will attend school number 13. Only upon entering the school grounds did Xiaosu notice a familiar person. There, leaning against the wall, stood young Xiaojin. School was the one place Xiaosu didn't expect to meet this girl, especially since by all accounts, she was a professional assassin. As he approached Xiaojin, the guy picked up on the unexpectedness of this encounter. Then, smiling awkwardly, he asked the girl to return the dagger to him. Meanwhile, other students from the school approached them to meet the new girl in their class. Throwing a strange look at these guys, Xiaojin decided to set up an amusing setup. When the classmates approached, they perplexedly asked the girl why she was standing there. "He wants to rob me," young Xiaojin explained, pointing her finger at her former squadmate. This was the kind of crap that Ren Xiaosu clearly didn't expect. Raising his hands, the guy awkwardly explained that he and this girl knew each other. To prove it, the classmates asked the boy to say her name. The fully confident Xiaosu replied that her name was Yang Xiaojin. Hearing that answer, the students were greatly surprised. Is this guy trying to pretend to know her name? This girl's name is actually Ren Xiaosu. From this turn of events, the real Xiaosu fell into a stupor. If she is Ren Xiaosu, then who is he? Remembering that they didn't know his name yet, the classmates asked the boy what his name was. The boy had no choice but to say his real name. Of course, the students didn't believe him and suggested he go to the student affairs department. But even when Xiaosu promised to explain everything, his classmates wouldn't listen to him and just dragged him to the teacher. Looking at all of this, Yuan realized that apparently his brother must have done quite well with this girl on Mount Jing. She really wasn't that simple since she made him get into trouble. Approaching young Xiaojin, Liu Yuan said hello to his sister and introduced himself as Ren Xiaosu's younger brother. After greeting the boy too, Xiaojin said that she was a good friend of his brother. Yes, this girl is even more troublesome than Xiaosu. And anyway, do good friends do that? Meanwhile, in the Department of Student Affairs, going through the papers, the teacher confirmed, just a few days ago, Ren Xiaosu was enrolled. So where did another one come from? So it's true, young Xiaojin has no conscience. She gave her name as Xiaosu when she entered school. After sorting out the paperwork, the teacher suggested that the guy go and meet his new classmates. From now on, Ren Xiaosu would be studying in the third group of the 12th grade. As he entered the classroom, the teacher told the boy that there was an empty seat in the third row at the back. He would sit there first, and then most likely he would be moved. In this school, seats are allocated according to academic performance. If the boy writes the upcoming exam well, he will be able to choose a seat himself. Fortunately, Xiaosu didn't get into the same class as young Xiaojin. Otherwise, there would be two people named Ren Xiaosu. How embarrassing for him right now. The guy sat down at a desk next to some girl who immediately asked where he transferred from. Xiaosu in turn replied that he used to attend the 5th middle school. The classmate was surprised at this answer. How could he study in the 5th school if there was no 5th school in Fortress 109? After all, it had long ago merged with the 6th one. Yeah, how was Xiaosu supposed to know that? There are 13 schools here, so why isn't there a 5th school? Moving away from the guy, the frightened girl asked if it was because of the fortress that he had come. What if he was contagious? At that moment, the teacher entered the classroom. He reminded the students that the final exam was just around the corner, so today they would repeat trigonometric functions. There was also no doubt that Xiaosu didn't know what these functions were at all. The guy used to listen to Mr. Zhang's lectures and had no trouble understanding everything he said. But the trigonometric function is different. It just doesn't fit in his head. Soon the class was over and the teacher announced recess. By then, Xiaosu had finally run out of breath. What had he just heard? Will it change? It won't change? Yes, the boy had no idea that studying in the fortress was so tedious. Walking down the hallway, the boy met his younger brother. After climbing up to the roof, Yuan said that all of his classmates said that those who came from behind the walls were contagious, and some people had died after coming into contact with them. Of course it's not true. But the boy can't understand why they say that. It's slander. Xiaosu then asked his younger brother if it was considered slander if 10 people said you were bad. Undoubtedly, Yuan replied that it is. But then, does it count if 100 people say so? Sure, what if it's 10,000? It turns out it's not slander, it's the truth. As he lowered his gaze, Yuan gushed that unlike Xiaosu, he didn't understand a lot of you. But even the words of millions of people can't be called truth as long as you yourself think otherwise. Patting his brother on the head, Ren Xiaosu said that he was right. Unexpectedly, at the moment of their conversation, Yang Xiaojin was on the rooftop. Noticing her, Xiaosu asked the girl why she came here. Liu Yuan immediately realized that it was better to leave these two alone so that they could chat about their business in peace. Heading to the restroom, the boy wished his brother a good chat. Xiaosu asked him when he had become such a traitor. The door leading to the roof of the school slammed shut, leaving the two former squad mates alone. Yan Xiaojin immediately threw something to the guy. It turned out to be the same dagger she had stolen before her escape. Pointing a gun at the boy, Xiaojin asked how he managed to escape from the Qing Consortium's blockade. Raising his hands, Xiaosu revealed that he ran non-stop until he finally ran out of the Qing Consortium's blockade. Wasn't there something wrong with that? Continuing to poke the guy in the face with the gun, Xiaojin asked what happened on Mount Jing after she left. Ren Xiaosu narrated that countless monsters rushed out, including a monster from the volcano's vent. The girl couldn't imagine how terrifying he was. I can, Xiaojin replied succinctly. She said this with such confidence as if she had met similar creatures before. After asking all the questions that interested her, the girl finally lowered the gun. She used to be worried that this boy would tell the Qing Consortium about what he saw, but now she's not afraid since he has something to hide from them too. When the guy asked what she meant, Xiaojin told him that when she and Luo Xinyu were returning the way they they found that the wolf pack had been at the end of the gorge the whole time. If it wasn't for Luo Xinyu's abilities, it was likely that the two of them would have had to take a detour. The girl read the time Xiaosu took to return. He definitely returned before the 113th fortress was destroyed. A simply strong man wouldn't be able to run at this speed, let alone slip through a pack of wolves. Hence, Ren Xiaosu is also a superhuman. However, the guy himself objected, saying that he didn't see the wolf pack on the way back and just ran in a straight line through the gorge. Besides, those flying things move slowly. Xinyu only pretended that she hadn't heard this nonsense. As she came closer, the girl explained to the guy that she didn't intend to threaten him. She only said this to make Xiaosu realize that everyone had their own secrets. So the most advantageous tactic would be to not do something that could get them both hurt. Simply put, as long as the boy didn't report to the Qing clan, no one would bother him. Deciding that this deal was more than favorable for him, Xiaosu said he would do so. But then the guy remembered something. Turning to Qiao Jin, Xiaosu recalled how she had mentioned the source of flame on Mount Jing. Doesn't she know why they buy the blood of people with superpowers? To this, the girl replied that there were more dangers in the 109th fortress than the boy could imagine. He better not mess with Flame Source mindlessly, and don't donate his blood to them. That was all the classmate could tell him. Before the girl left, Ren Xiaosu decided to also ask what dangers could be lurking here besides the Flame Source. Are there other organizations here as well? However, Yan Xiaojin said that the guy didn't have much time to be interested in that. He underestimates the extent to which the people of the fortress reject refugees. At the same instant, Luo Xinyu appeared on the roof of the school. Where did she come from? Well, it's understandable. The two girls are inseparable by the looks of it. Looking puzzled at Xiaojin, Xiaosu asked if they knew why supernatural beings appeared. In the process of evolution, mankind had weakened their physical capabilities. Just as Ren Xiaosu himself had told the story on Mount Jing, that master, Zhang Jinglin of the 178th fortress, said that this was the price of wisdom. Hence, if one pays the price, then of course there will be a greater result. So what exactly is Xiaojin trying to say with this? And that when disaster strikes, it is fortitude that becomes humanity's first weapon in the face of danger. These words make sense and describe very accurately what happened to Xiaosu. It was late in the evening when the three boys were returning home. Near their pharmacy, they saw a huge crowd of people. Noticing Fu Gai filling out some form, Yuan asked his older brother why things in the store were suddenly booming. Noticing that the boss had returned, Uncle Wang beckoned him over. Once inside the pharmacy, Xiaosu asked the merchant why there were so many people here. Fugui, in turn, explained that when the men tasted the black medicine, they immediately publicized it. The rumors had worked. All these people had come specifically for it. Seeing the boy's perplexed face, Uncle Wang explained that young and strong guys don't know the pain of middle-aged and elderly men. All those who came for this medicine are fellow sufferers. Of course, a large influx of visitors wouldn't hurt, but Xiaosu once again warned the merchant not to sell too much medicine. Have him tell everyone that only one dose would be sold per week. But Fugui doesn't understand what the guy is afraid of. This potion has no side effects. If they sell more of it, they'll soon become the fortress's largest health store. Just as Yuan had another idea. The store can win, and not only by volume. After scratching the back of his head perplexedly, Uncle Wang asked the boy what he meant. Then Liu Yuan suggested that we should not use simple porcelain bottles, but pack the medicine in the best boxes. Besides, we should make an advertisement, let it be even more mysterious. Grasping the boy's shoulder admiringly, the merchant remarked that Yuan was quite bright. Perhaps with one dose a week, they could get rich in the future. Meanwhile, Xiaosu decided to ask Uncle Wang where Chen Wudi had gone. Unfortunately, Fugui had no idea where this guy had gone. But you don't have to worry about him. He'll definitely be back in time for dinner in the end, as this dude is extremely punctual. Looking puzzled at the merchant, Xiaosu couldn't believe that Wudi only came back when he came back to eat. But that wasn't entirely true. He actually comes to bring food. Oh, by the way, Wudi's back? What is young Xiaojin up to after all? She's not going to blow up the fortress, is she? But it's unrealistic for one person to prepare that much explosive. Or does she need it for something else? Young Xiaojin and Luo Xiaojin are in the fortress, as is the Qing consortium. The flame source is buying up the blood of superhumans. And according to young Xiaojin, there are likely other organizations as well. Until now, Xiaosu had only seen one fortress manager named Luo Lan. What is it that attracts all these people? And what will happen in the future? No sign of anyone from the Li Consortium. Don't they know what's going on in the fortress? Why did such powerful people disappear at the most opportune moment? With these thoughts, Ren Xiaosu walked out of his room. Outside, he had just met up with Sister Xiao Yu, who had brought him a small gift. Seeing the bike, the guy was very surprised. Scratching the back of his head, the boy asked the girl why she bought it. Xiaosu had heard that it was not a cheap item. Xiao Yu in turn replied that it was fine, and she still had her savings. With this bike, it would be more convenient for the boy to get to school. Having also left the rooms with the others, Yuan wondered how to ride this thing. Isn't it hard to keep balance on two wheels? After examining the bike up close, the boy wondered if anyone knew how to operate the thing. Of course, everyone replied that they had no idea. So Qiaosu decided to ask Zhang Wu or Yang Xiaojin tomorrow. They should know. The next day came, the boys went to school again. In the third group of 12th grade students were already sitting around, and everyone was discussing something heatedly with each other. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu walked into the auditorium. The classmates were abruptly silent and looked at him strangely. Maybe they were hiding something? It doesn't matter. The important thing is that Xiaosu feels equal to everyone else. He goes to school to learn, not to be liked. Taking out his textbook, the boy decided to prepare for the lesson better. He didn't understand exact sciences, but he could definitely cope with geography. The boy sat down at his desk and opened his textbook. However, he noticed that this textbook was wrong. It only talks about the surroundings of the 109th fortress and a little bit of economic geography. This is most likely because they don't have enough information about the world outside the fortress. Just as the Li Consortium will never share its topographic maps with the Qing Consortium, the other consortia will be wary of each other. While reading the book, Xiaosu received another assignment from the Dark Palace. This time he needed to help a classmate. Reaching out to his deskmate, the boy asked if her stomach hurt. Maybe she has diarrhea. The boy immediately offered his classmate some toilet paper, but she refused, saying it was not diarrhea. This kind of answer greatly puzzled Xiaosu. He was completely sure that it was diarrhea. Trying to help the girl, the guy offered to walk her to the hospital, but Cao Yu asked him to stop asking questions, explaining that there was no cure. Is it really that serious? Glancing back at the boy, the pink-haired girl thought that perhaps she was being too rude to him. You shouldn't talk like that to someone who cares about you. People, listen up. Cao Yu has a terminal illness. Since we're all classmates, I hope we'll lend her a helping hand by donating money. Xiaosu suggested, suddenly jumping up from his chair. Hearing him speak, the rest of his classmates looked at the guy perplexedly. Meanwhile, Cao Yu couldn't understand what other incurable disease we were talking about. It's just her period. The task has been completed. Reward: a scroll of learning a perfect skill. Xiaosu certainly couldn't expect to receive a perfect skill study scroll for such a task. Now, if he copied Luo Xinyu's passing through shadow skill, he would become invincible. Then it would be possible to get anywhere without any problems. Yang Xiaojin's boyfriend is definitely not going to copy skills anymore. She has too many perfect level skills, sometimes even meaningless ones. If he gets something like this again, such as child's songs, he'll just go crazy. The teacher who entered the classroom interrupted the boy's thoughts. He asked Ren Xiaosu to briefly step out of the classroom. The boy didn't interrupt and followed the teacher. The teacher brought the boy into the conference room, said his classmates' parents wanted to see him. Apparently, these people are in the mood for a serious conversation. Case in point. They all say that Xiaosu is carrying a virus from outside the fortress, so they want the guy to transfer to another school. Transfer to another school? Where to? No school will accept Ren Xiaosu under the same pretext. Then the blue-haired parent with the glasses suggested the boy just drop out. One person shouldn't endanger an entire class. Naturally, Xiaos didn't like this option. He immediately decided to find out what would happen if he refused to leave the institution. Jumping out of her seat, the female parent shouted that they would see each other in court if that was the case. She just might report the guy for endangering public safety. Plus, if this school didn't force Xiaosu to transfer, they would have to be held responsible if the epidemic spread. Smiling awkwardly, the teacher explained that this student was assigned here by Luo Lan. So why don't the parents talk to him about it? Unexpectedly, Zhang Wu, a teacher from Fortress 113, came into the conversation. Looking indignantly at her parents, the girl asked what they were trying to accomplish. In response, a female parent explained that they, as parents, could not allow refugees to go to the same school as their children. However, Jung-woo couldn't understand what the problem was. Everyone here was human. Who said that refugees necessarily had to be infected? It's not like none of the children got sick. Waving her hands, the female parent said that she had heard as if there were infected in the fortress. If she just heard it, it's no reason to give up on the student's future. Jiang Wu, as a teacher, doesn't care if he's a refugee or a resident of the fortress. To her, he's just a student like everyone else. Gratefully looking at the girl standing next to him, Xiaosu noted that although the world was polluted, there would always be clean people in it. One of the parents suggested that the teacher take this student into her class since she was so protective of him. Of course, Jiang Wu agreed, since that's what she came here for. I'll apply for a transfer to your class too. A woman's voice came from behind me. Looking at the teacher with disdain, the man in glasses remarked that she was being completely irresponsible about what she was talking about. Let's say she wants to let refugees into her classroom. But will the students' parents agree? Lowering her gaze, Jiang Wu explained that these children no longer had parents, she only needed to get consent from her students. But the guys who entered the conference room told the teacher that she didn't need to ask for their consent. They would always support her and Ren Xiaosu. Reluctantly folding her arms, one of the parents wondered why they were being so helpful to this refugee. Then, clenching his fist, the disciple explained that they weren't helping Xiaosu since he didn't need their help. If it wasn't for this guy, then both Jiang Wu and her disciples wouldn't be standing here right now. The people living in the fortress are completely unaware of the world outside, and that's sad. Ren Xiaosu would start the new class right away, while the old class teacher would take care of the application process for now. Seeing her colleague off, Jiang Wu said she was ashamed of him as a teacher who couldn't even protect his students. He didn't say a word when he had to. Soon it slowly began to get darker, and the students began to disperse to their homes. Returning from the conference room to the classroom, Xiaosu saw Kaoyu lying on the desk. Looking up, the girl couldn't immediately understand why this guy had returned so quickly. "Get well soon," muttered the boy, keeping his hands in his pockets. From such sincere words, Kaoyu looked at the guy with embarrassment. As Ren Xiaosu walked out of the classroom, Jiang Wu decided to show off the new classroom where he would now study. Also, the teacher asked the boy to tell her if he had any difficulties with his studies. And just in time, Xiaosu had a question on a certain subject. A cycle subject. Yeah, Xiaosu's vocabulary can be surprising. Hearing this conversation, young Xiaojin asked the guy if he had bought a bicycle. Noticing the girl, Xiaosu asked why she transferred too. Weren't they supposed to avoid getting into the same class? But Xiaojin said that she didn't mind. But who the hell cares? It's just a matter of how they'll distinguish them by name. By the way, Teacher Jiang said that these two would now be sitting at the same desk. Saying that she would now look forward to Xiaosu's guidance in the future, Xiaojin extended her hand to him. "Likewise," the guy replied, shaking the girl's hand. Is it fate? It feels like they were destined to be partners. A few hours later, Zhen Xiaosu's store. The boy, along with Teacher Zhang, returned home. Seeing Zhang Wu, Yuan thanked her for helping his brother today. Stroking the boy's head, Zhang said that she shouldn't be thanked. It was something every teacher should do. Because of what's going on in the past few days, the people from the fortress become Liu Yuan's dislike, but Teacher Zhang and her students are different. Also, Yang Xiaojin's sister Yang Xiaojin is completely different. The boy enjoys watching her bullying his brother. Asking his younger brother to stop the bicycle here, Xiaosu explained that the teacher would now teach them how to ride it. After bringing Zhang Wu's bicycle over, Yuan suggested that she try riding it. After getting on the bike, the girl explained that in order to ride a bike, you need to know how to keep your balance. First of all, you should not look at the handlebars, but at what is in front of you. You have to overcome your fear and just go. There can be no other recommendations. Everyone was amazed by the teacher's bicycling skills, however. Xiaosu sensed something wrong. At the same moment, a loud explosion sounded somewhere in the distance. It sounds like the sound of a bomb going off. Could this be Yang Xiaojin's handiwork? No, it doesn't sound like her. Deciding to check what had exploded, Xiaosu allowed Teacher Zhang to stay here, promising to take care of her if anything happened. Before leaving the house, the guy asked Yuan and Wudi to get the guns and lock the store doors until Xiaosu returned. And when a worried Liu Yuan asked his brother where he was going, Xiaosu told him not to worry and to stay at home. It's quiet outside the fortress now, but there are a lot of dangerous people gathered inside. To make a final decision, Xiaos needs to go and look at what happened himself. Then he can ensure everyone has a chance of survival. Landing on the roof of one of the houses, the guy saw a tall building from which it would be convenient to observe the situation. He started climbing up the ledges. Getting to the very top, the boy was about to climb. Suddenly, someone put a rifle muzzle to his face. Stopping, Xiao Su looked at the person aiming at him. It was young Xiaojin. This girl is here, and the distance from the blast is decent. So that sound had nothing to do with her. After looking at the guy through the telescopic sight for a while longer, Xiaojin threw the rifle down on her shoulder and told him to climb up quickly. Finally on the roof, Xiao Su asked what that noise was. The girl in turn said that it was the flame source playing with fire again. The awakened superhuman went to sell his blood. He thought that Flame Source was really some kind of charitable organization. However, the company immediately sprang into action, wanting to grab him on the spot, but missed him. It seems that they are really baiting people with $1 million. Fortunately, Ren Xiaosu didn't fall for it. This begs the question, what went wrong? After all, a company as powerful as Flame Source should be fully prepared to capture a super creature. At first, they actually succeeded. They injected the superhuman with a large dose of anesthetic, and they didn't think he'd take a partner with him. Before going to the Flame Source for money, they agreed that if one got in trouble, the other would help him. Turns out even the superhuman was prepared. That was when the company failed. After analyzing everything, Xiaosu wondered if now wasn't a great opportunity to capitalize on them. But the source of flame should not be underestimated. They have the Dawn Army under their command. It is extremely strong even if only 5 of them arrive. The only reason those 2 have lasted until now is because Fatty Luo from the Qing Consortium is also scheming against them. Luo Lan has reasons why he doesn't get along with Flame Source. The company used a similar ploy to kidnap King Zhen's soldier while he was on vacation. Although he later returned the soldier, the Qing Consortium has been feuding with Flame Source ever since. After listening to the girl, an excited Xiaosu asked if the fight between consortiums was always so fierce. Then, why is the target of Yang Xiaojin and Luo Xinyu specifically Qing Zhen? They obviously don't get along with the source of the flame. Isn't the enemy of their enemy a friend? With a stern look at the guy, Xiaojin replied that an enemy was an enemy and no one was going to play ally. It seems that the organization Yang Xiaojin is in has very clear goals or principles. Perhaps anyone who touches their interests will be on the list of secret victims. Noticing the way Xiaosu was thinking, the girl asked if he was curious. Flame Source and Qing Zhen are trying to lord over something they are completely unable to control. Whether it's success or failure, either way, expect disaster. Looking at Yang Xiaojin aiming somewhere with a sniper rifle, Xiaosu realized that the purpose of her organization was love and peace. After a while, some interesting things started happening nearby. There was another explosion, and the private army of the Flame Source Company arrived at the scene. The main question that Xiaosu was beginning to worry about was why the Li Consortium was slow. The 109th Fortress was their territory, and they still hadn't sent their soldiers. Continuing to look at something in the scope, Xiaojin explained that the Li family had something more important in need of protection right now. They don't care about something that doesn't threaten this thing. But when Xiaosu decided to find out more specifically what this thing was, the girl asked him to be quiet. The target will be out soon. In the place Xiaojin had been watching all this time, a sewer manhole opened. A tired Luo Lan emerged from the ground. I wonder why Luo Lan, an authority figure of the Qing Consortium, knows the Li Consortium's sewer so well. However, now is not the time to ask such questions. It seems that Fatty Lo is waiting for a car to leave. Suddenly, Xiaojin gave the guy standing next to her a pair of binoculars. Looking at the girl perplexedly, Xiaosu asked why she gave it to him. Did she really think the boy would become her watcher? However, Xiaojin didn't have time to chat. She immediately asked her assistant for the distance. There was nothing to do. The task was apparently very serious. The guy reported to his partner that the distance to the target was 651 meters, and the wind speed was 0.4 of a meter per second. Lowering his binoculars, Xiaosu asked the girl if she was going to kill Luo Lan. At the same instant, there was a gunshot. The bullet pierced the tank of the approaching car, instantly exploding the vehicle. Satisfied with her work, Xiaojin lowered her rifle and looked at the road. A panicked Lin Luo tried to figure out who the hell did this. Who dared to ambush his car? Tang Zhou in turn asked the boss to calm down, noting that such a thing would surely attract the attention of the Li Consortium's men. Agreeing with his subordinate, Lin Luo said that there was no way they could be discovered. In short, they went back to where they came from. Before closing the sewer manhole cover behind him, Lin Luo suspiciously could have fallen. Eventually, finding no one, he simply closed the lid. You only went out at a time like this to blow up Luolan's car. Puzzled, Xiaosu clarified to his partners. In response, the girl remarked that it was amusing. What, funny? Where's the fun in that? Is she crazy? After saluting the dumbfounded guy, Xiaojin wished him good luck. Still not understanding what the hell was going on, Xiaosu just continued to stare at her. The very next second, a portal opened, and that girl again just bolted from the scene. As soon as the portal was closed, Lee Consortium people started yelling that there was a sniper on the bank building. Laughing hysterically, Xiaosu finally realized what was so funny about it. Realizing that if he stayed here any longer, he would be surrounded, the guy decided to get out of here quickly. And why does he get screwed over every time anyway? Fortunately, Xiaosu quickly escaped. If the consortium had caught him, it would have been the end. Running up to his older brother, an excited Yuan asked what happened and if his brother had any wounds. Trying to catch his breath, Xiaosu revealed that everything was fine. The flame source had a conflict with superhumans. This company has really bad intentions. Some superhuman came to sell their blood, resulting in a trap they had prepared in advance. Approaching teacher Jiang, the boy said that the danger here should not affect them. So after a while, the boy would ask Chen Wudi to walk the woman home. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden knock on the door. Open the door! Hurry up and open the door! Luo Lan shouted in panic. When the door opened, Fatty Luo tried his best to hide the fact that he had recently bathed in the sewer. But in the end, the sensitive nose of an experienced hunter like Ren Xiaosu almost fell off from such a horrible odor. Looking at Luo Lan exhaustedly, the guy asked why he smelled so stinky. Deciding not to answer that question, Fatty Luo went inside the house and asked the boy to bring more of that black medicine to cure the injured man. Before helping, Xiaosu inquired about where the wound came from. Didn't the explosion of the fortress have something to do with them? Turning around angrily at the guy, Lo asked him not to talk nonsense. They had only accidentally fallen, nothing more. Looking out the door, Ren Xiaosu decided to clarify what his guests had used to get there. Where did the car go? Sighing, Lin Luo replied that his car was being serviced. Still, this Zhen Xiaosu had a way of putting salt in the wound. Well, the vehicle does need to be serviced from time to time. That's commendable. Moving on to the main topic of conversation, Fatty Luo warned the guy not to even think of blabbing about what happened tonight. Otherwise, Lin Luo would report to the consortium that Chen Wudi was a super being. Xiaosu, in turn, promised to maintain confidentiality. After that, Fatty Luo took a closer look at the boy and noticed that he was all sweaty for some reason. Did he go for a walk? In the end, Xiaosu tried to excuse himself by saying that he was learning to ride a bicycle. Besides, teacher Jiang is living proof of that. She came for this purpose, and the task of looking at the woman, Lin Luo clarified if she had really decided to teach them how to ride a bicycle. And when the teacher confirmed it, the fat man praised her for her courage to help people who were lagging behind. Okay, it's time to help old friend Lo and see if the victim's wound is serious. Taking out a medicine in a black jar, Xiaosu took a seat next to the injured guy. Concerned, Lin Luo immediately asked to be careful not to kill this kid. Once this superhuman regained consciousness, the fatty would play on his feelings to convince him to accompany him. And then Luo, just like King Zhen, will be able to have the superhuman as a bodyguard. I wish this kid would also turn out to be more powerful than Chen Wudi. Otherwise, Lin Luo would really die of envy of Ren Xiaosu. While the fatty was imagining things, Sister Xiaoyu was imagining something unusual. Turns out the victim was a girl. She looks to be probably about 27 years old. Turning to Luo's mentor, the delighted Wudi shouted out that this girl seemed to be a white dragon horse. After yelling at this nutcase, Lin Luo asked him to pester someone else with this stuff. Awkwardly scratching the back of his head, Chen Wudi apologized, saying that he had mistaken his name. This girl is older than a white dragon horse. Clapping his hands contentedly, Fatty Luo was surprised that this writing-obsessed dude even memorized the ages of all the characters from that book. Giving the black jar to Xiaoyu's sister, Xiaosu said that it would be awkward for him to apply the medicine to the girl. Xiaoyu herself simply asked to rely on her and stand aside. That's right, when a woman takes her medicine, men are not supposed to watch. Soon the patient opened her eyes. Finally coming to her senses, the girl jumped to her feet and asked the people here who they were.
Pet the cat.